Let me just say, I didn't think it was possible, but I decided to take a look and see if I could find a decent laptop on the cheap. We're talking under $600. My expectations were extremely low. I just wanted something that had a screen that looked decent and maybe could play a few light games. So I did some Googling. I know Acer makes some pretty decent, affordable budget laptops, and this is one of those attractively priced laptops. The screen is 1080p, IPS, should be adequate, and it has a quad-core CPU. So all in all, this laptop can be used for things like web browsing, spreadsheets, content consumption, watching Netflix, but not gaming, video editing, or really anything heavy like that. And that's fine, the price is only $350. But the problem here is that it's no longer 2010, and there's great tablets that exist out there at a similar price point that gives you a better experience doing these light tasks than a big, bulky, kind of unwieldy laptop. I mean, I know personally, and I'm sure you guys are the same, that if I'm about to watch some YouTube videos or look something up, I'm gonna grab an iPad, not a laptop. So for a laptop to justify its own existence, it needs to be more capable than a tablet. And today in 2023, that is not an easy task. The iPads have very impressive chips like the M2, which is amongst the best on the entire market, and increasingly it can run more pro software like Final Cut Pro to take advantage of all that power and speed. That's why moving up to a laptop like this that has a faster Intel Core i7 CPU is still something I would not personally buy. According to Geekbench scores, the $600 iPad Air with the older M1 chip noticeably outperforms this i7 laptop. So at this point, I narrowed my search to only include laptops that have a dedicated graphics card. This is one of the last remaining major reasons to pick a laptop over a tablet. Tablets simply can't play AAA title games like Battlefield, GTA, and laptops with a good GPU can. The only caveat here is when you add a dedicated GPU to a laptop, the price tends to rise significantly. And that's when I came across this laptop right here. Now, I did notice there's a few different listings of this laptop in different configurations, so I'll leave the exact listing I purchased from below the video because I paid only $565 and I got a 6-core Ryzen 5 CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, a beautiful display, and a dedicated graphics card that is more than competent at playing most games at high 1080p settings. So I bought this immediately because it seemed too good to be true, and after getting it, I immediately ran some tests just to confirm that this thing was as capable as it first appears. I started with the CPU, I ran Cinebench. This gives us a single core and a multi-core score, and it shows comparable chips to just give us a better idea of where this laptop stands and how it compares to the competition. And I gotta say, this Ryzen 5 7535HS CPU is in good company. On the single, we got a score of 1312, right in between two quad-core i7 CPUs. And on multi, we got 9037, right in line with an 8-core i9 CPU. So it's a good CPU, and according to Geekbench, it's only a little bit behind the M1 chip offered by Apple. But we still have a whole dedicated separate GPU, the RTX 2050. And comparing this to the M1 chip in games, there is a huge difference. The 2050 can render generally about 40% more frames per second, and really all the way up to 100% more frames in all the games that iPads and Macs can't even run. Now, to further test this, I ran 3D Mark, which is a graphical benchmark, and I got a respectable score of 4,258. More importantly, it gives us an estimated frame rate in 5 popular games of varying difficulty. So Battlefield 5 1080p Ultra on this system would pull about 90 frames per second, Apex Legends 100 plus, GTA 155 frames per second, Red Dead Redemption, a heavier game, still gets about 50 frames per second, and Fortnite, a cool 195. After this, I directly tested a few games myself, including The Witcher 3. Here I got about 30 FPS on 1080p high with ray tracing, and 60 without ray tracing. Fallout 4 is another heavy intensive game, and I was pulling about 47-ish frames per second at 1080p high, and you can boost that to 60 if you disable anti-aliasing. Rocket League is a game I really enjoy. It's super light, and this system crushed it at over 200 frames per second. And I think this is a good time to mention a key aspect of the display that you're looking at here. So generally it looks fine. in terms of viewing angles, colors. It's a quality IPS panel with 1080p resolution. Fairly nominal in that regard. But the standout feature here is the fast 144Hz refresh rate. And the real life difference between a regular 60Hz display and what we have here is immense. You can feel the difference in smoothness while gaming, and it also means that you can see all of these frames that your GPU is generating above 60. And this is by far most important with competitive first-person shooter games like Overwatch 2. This is one of my favorite games at the moment, and I had it set to 1080p Ultra, and I was getting a pretty consistent 100 frames per second. So the RTX 2050 and the 144Hz display, I think is just a fantastic combination, and I'm blown away I was able to buy this for $565. Just to make sure they didn't cut any corners elsewhere, I tested the SSD speeds and confirmed that they are performing as expected with read and write speeds around 3500 megabits per second, and this makes general computing, things like launching apps, even the boot time, much faster and pleasant. And while using the laptop, I never noticed any slowdowns, thermal throttling, nothing like that. Between the quality SSD, the very capable Ryzen 5 CPU, of course the RTX 2050, the 144Hz display, the entire experience was great, and I noticed zero bottlenecks really anywhere. Now, obviously, I think a tablet is still going to be a better choice for web browsing, consuming content. It's going to give you better battery life. It's way more portable, enjoyable to use for those tasks, but there's no denying that this laptop offers real value over a tablet. And it's all around that combination of the RTX 2050 graphics card and the fast, good-looking 144Hz display. If I want to game seriously, I'm definitely choosing this laptop over a tablet. And the beautiful thing here is because this laptop is so cheap and most iPads are also very cheap, you can just get both. Use a tablet for browsing the web, content consumption, and then you have this laptop dedicated for gaming, possibly video editing, and other tasks where you need a full Windows 11 operating system. But let us know what you guys think in the comments. Again, I'll leave this laptop linked below the video so you guys can check it out. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.